Hey, what's up guys? Chad here with Greenlight Shooting, and thanks for tuning in. This week we are talking about stippling on gun grips. How does it work? Is it worth it? What kind of differences does it make? Can you notice a difference while shooting? All sorts of stuff. And there is a lot to talk about in this one. So before we begin, I do want to point something out. A company came to me that I previously worked with. They mentioned that they were now offering stippling services and asked if I'd be interested in having one of my guns stippled in exchange for a video review. Now, I like to be upfront about this because I don't want you guys to think that I'm being swayed one way or the other. As with all of my reviews, I'm very upfront with the brand that I do not guarantee a positive review. There's no money being exchanged, anything like that. It's purely service for service, and there's no bias, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. So anything I say in this video is truly my own opinion. I'm not being swayed one way or the other to say specific things. With that out of the way, let's get into this. So if you're not familiar with stippling, essentially it's the practice of marking a surface with raised specks or dots with some sort of material. So why would you want to do that to a gun grip? Well, as you can see right here, it just creates a little bit more aggressive of a grip. You can really latch onto this gun. You can feel when you've got a good grip on it. It just gives you a little more tactile feedback, as well as, if your hand is wet or moist for any reason, it lets you hold onto the gun a little bit better during recoil. Like for me specifically, I asked for a pretty kind of aggressive stippling because my hands get super sweaty. And so I usually shoot with gloves on. And honestly, if I shoot without gloves, I don't have control over the gun. So this stippling should really help me to be able to shoot the gun if I ever need to without gloves. I never realized how many features there are to stippling a grip. I always thought it was just create these dots on your grip to make it a little bit easier to hold, and that was that. It's actually very complicated and complex. So when this is the first gun I ever had that was stippled. This is the first gun I think I've ever shot that's been stippled. But more so, this one is actually custom stippled to my hand. So the company, Tactical Armament, actually took a scan of my hand, and then when he was stippling this, it's crazy. There's more dense specks in some points where there's a gap in my grip, and there's it's kind of lowered and more smooth in other portions. There's also on the front of the grip, he put in these finger grips, kind of it's like an HKP30 style grip, and I love that. On the bottom of this trigger guard, he built another kind of a lock thing for my middle finger to raise up into it. He brought everything up so my hand can get a little bit even higher on the gun. And then down here at the base, there's a really significant lip where my pinky can just lock in there. So there's just so many different things that stippling really does for your grip. There's these thumb guides where, when you grab the gun, you can feel when your thumb is in the right place. And then, interestingly enough, there's these little stipples clear up at the front of the trigger guard that I didn't really know what they were. So he calls them talons. And essentially the idea is that when you've got your thumb's forward grip, you can put your front thumb on that and kind of press down on the gun. And so it gives you a little bit more recoil control. And it's just really interesting how much goes into custom stippling. Another thing I should point out is the ability to increase the aesthetic value and kind of the personalization of your grip. So when I took the gun in, he asked me if there was any symbols or anything that I wanted kind of inlaid in the grip, and I didn't know. It kind of caught me by surprise. So I just said to roll with it and kind of give me whatever you think, whatever's your most popular design. And they ended up putting this Punisher skull on the back, the SEAL team kind of Chris Kyle inspired Punisher skull, which is very cool and very badass, I have to admit. It's probably not what I personally would have gone with if I had been prepared for it, but nonetheless, it's a very cool looking design, and I think that it just shows that he can do all sorts of designs for you. Whatever you got in your head, I'm sure there's a way to get it involved in the gun, and it just kind of, it brings the whole thing together. It makes it your gun, which is really cool. One other thing I forgot to mention, because I didn't have him do it to this gun because it's not my carry gun, but if you get your everyday carry gun stippled, you don't want the the rough side digging into your side and scratching you up and stuff like that. So he showed me a couple of his other samples, and so the side that goes against your body, he keeps very, very smooth. In fact, he can smooth it out more than the gun is already if you want that. But then the back and kind of the dominant side grip, he keeps very, very stippled. So it's smooth, it's really, really comfortable riding against your skin all day, but you've still got that clean, strong, tactile draw. So we've talked about the exterior features and kind of the aesthetic value of it, but the real question is, does it work? Does it make shooting easier? Does it make you a better shooter? Is it worth the money? So as soon as I got this thing back, I took it out to the range and I ran like 200 rounds through it. And the reason I ran so many rounds through it is because I wanted to see if it would hurt my hand more at the end of the day, you know, the aggressive stippling. Now granted, I was wearing gloves, but I always wear gloves when I shoot. So I don't think it'd be fair to shoot it without gloves as opposed to kind of comparing it to when I used to wear gloves, you know what I mean? So I wanted to keep it apples to apples. I wore gloves, I wore the same gloves I always wore, and I didn't notice any difference in terms of my hand being more like numb or, you know, just hurting more afterwards. Of course, that might change without wearing gloves, and of course it'll change from person to person, but for me personally, I didn't notice any major differences. The thing that I think made the biggest difference in terms of feel, obviously the stippling itself, but beyond the stippling itself were these finger grooves in the front. You can really feel your grip lock in, and like I said, it's like like an HKP 30 or even a Walther PPQ. I love the feel of those grips, and he really turned this gun into a grip just like that. It fits my hand so well. Like drawing it from the holster was probably where I noticed it the most. You just have such a sure, kind of certain grip on the gun. As well as, you know, when you're shooting like one-handed or anything like that, it just kind of gives you, I don't know, you get a lot more confident grip on it, I guess. Now, the one thing I did want to touch on is up front here with these Talon grips, I think he calls them. So, you know, when you've got your thumbs on it, you're supposed to put your front thumb on that and kind of be able to press down. So when the recoil comes up, you've got a little more stability to come back down. I personally didn't see that much of a difference. In fact, if anything, it was kind of a negative for me because I'd shoot, and when I come back down and get my sight picture, I'd notice that my thumb wasn't on that point anymore, and it kind of made me stop and think. It didn't help the gun get out of my way and let me shoot better and easier. So to be honest, I don't think that I'd put that on a gun if I did this again. It's just kind of, I don't know, it doesn't really work, and granted it's probably user error, but you know, everyone shoots a little bit differently and it just doesn't work for me. However, on the other side, there's also another Talon grip here, and I did like that one. The reason I like it isn't so much for a shooting purpose, but it's because it fits perfectly on your pointer finger here. So if I'm teaching someone to shoot that's, you know, never shot before or hasn't shot too much, I can tell them, see that? Can you feel that? That's where your pointer finger goes whenever this gun is not firing. It's kind of a training tool to be able to say, hey, that's where your finger goes. It gives them kind of like a real textured, just kind of ingrains it in them, I think, a little bit easier. And that's kind of a cool little option to teach people. So I do like it on this side, but this whole thumb push down recoil control thing, I just didn't feel it. Didn't work for me. So two other things I did notice. First is this kind of concave portion where my thumb goes. I really like that because it's like a guide for your thumb. You can feel when you're locked into a good grip, as well as this magazine drop button. You know, we brought it out a little bit more, made it a little more textured, so that in combination, I guess, with this thumb guide, you can drop that really, really easily. You can feel it very, very well. So, you know, if you're in a situation where you couldn't see whatsoever, you've got a real strong tactile feedback of that, you know, that your thumb and your grip is in the right spot. Let's put it that way. So overall, man, I'm really, really happy with the way this gun came out. Only downsides, like I said, is I'd probably change this Punisher skull out for something else. That's not a huge deal, though. It's just kind of aesthetic. And then I probably wouldn't put this on a future gun. It doesn't hurt it being on there. I just don't think I'll use it. And I don't think that, like I said, I'd put it on a gun in the future. That being said, it greatly increased the certainty of my draw stroke. It made it much easier for me to shoot one-handed, and overall the finger grooves just helped enormously. I loved the way those grips felt, and now it feels like my gun, it looks like my gun, and honestly I feel a little spoiled with this because I think it's going to be hard for me to go back to guns, to like shooting my other guns that aren't personalized to my grip. So where do I stand on is it worth it? I think that it's 100% worth it to stipple your favorite gun. So like this gun, this is my workhorse gun. I shoot USPSA with it. I shoot just all the time with this gun. This is my preferred gun. If I'm gonna go run some rounds through any of my guns, I can only choose one. This is the one I'm gonna take every single time. I love this gun, and the stippling on it works great because it makes it, it's custom to my hand. It's even more personalized. It's really truly my gun now, and I love that I chose this one to do the stippling on. That being said, I don't know if I would do stippling on any of my other guns. Well, I take that back actually. I'd probably put stippling on my everyday carry gun because, like I said, my hands get really sweaty, and if I ever had to use that gun in a critical situation, I'm obviously probably not gonna have gloves on me. So I would like that one. But all the other guns I have just to kind of shoot, I don't know that I would really stipple, and it's kind of a price thing, you know what I mean? It's a fairly steep price. It's not crazy, but for the price, I think it's better reserved for your favorite gun to shoot. Now, what is the price? So working with tactical armament was a good experience. I obviously haven't done research out there as to see what competitive pricing is like. So obviously do that. But with tactical armament, like I said, it was a good experience. He said that depending on how many features you want, if you want it custom, if you want the finger grooves, if you want the talons, whatever, obviously the price differs. He said it'll range anywhere from like $90 up to $400 or $500. So it just depends on what you want to do to it, how much you want to personalize it. Obviously, the logos or symbols or anything that you want to do is going to change that as well. So like I said, look into it, but it was a very good experience overall working with Tactical Armament. They're a good company. The turnaround time was fantastic. Now, I am local to these guys, so I got my gun seriously within like 2 days after dropping it off, which was really awesome. I don't know how it would be like shipping it back and forth and stuff like that, but I assume if he was able to get mine done that quickly, the turnaround time would probably work out pretty well for you guys as well. So anyways, that's my stance on stippling. I learned a whole bunch through this video, through getting this whole process done, and like I said, I'm really honestly excited that I got it done, and I'm stoked on the way that my gun feels and shoots now. So thanks so much for watching. I hope that video helped out. It seemed a little jumbled while I was saying all that, but hopefully you guys got something out of it. Do you guys have your guns stippled? Are you thinking about it? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you're a pro stippler, if you've got a bunch of guns stippled, let us know what are some the best practices, where you guys get yours done, all that good stuff. And thanks so much for watching. If you liked the video, please like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. We are doing these main videos every single Friday. We've got vlogs coming out every single Monday. And yeah, man, if you haven't seen these other 2 videos, please check them out. And we'll see you next week on Greenlight Shooting.